Hello, and welcome to the December dairy market update. So trade is becoming an increasingly hot topic as the next Brexit deadline looms, and we're being asked an increasing number of questions about the UK's self-sufficiency position when it comes to dairy. Those questions are driven by two main reasons. Firstly, the risk of a no-deal Brexit of the dairy industry and what happens if import tariffs start to apply, but also looking at the industry's ability to feed the nation and to produce the kind of dairy products that we all love to eat. So today I'm going to try to answer some of those self-sufficiency questions, but also look at why things may not be quite as easy as simply displacing imports with homegrown alternatives. When we talk about self-sufficiency, we're looking at domestic production compared with the amount consumed. If we are more than 100% self-sufficient, it means we can satisfy demand without having to rely on imports. We can cut dairy in a multiple of ways, but let's start by looking at the key components of milk and whether we have enough butterfat and protein for the foods we eat. If we look at all the main dairy foods we produce and estimate how much butterfat and protein is in each of them, we can get an overall picture. That suggests that last year we were 89% self-sufficient in butterfat and 93% in protein. Both butterfat and protein self-sufficiency have been slowly increasing over the last few years, and if we look at some of the individual products, that's going to explain why. Trade in liquid milk is relatively small compared with the amount of milk we drink in the UK. In fact, the only significant trade volumes in liquid milk are over the Irish border. That means for drinking milk, we're pretty much self-sufficient. For milk powders, both skimmed and whole milk powder, we actually export more than we import, meaning our self-sufficiency level is over 100%. Now that's not the case for yoghurt, butter or cheese. In fact, of those, cheese has the biggest trade deficit, and our latest estimate is that the UK is only 58% self-sufficient in cheese. Now the picture is slightly better if we look at some of the key types of cheeses. So for mozzarella, we're 77% self-sufficient, and for cheddar, it's even higher at around 92%. If we delve into cheddar in a bit more detail, we can start to understand some of the complications. Based on the trade data for 2019, we imported 121,000 tonnes of cheddar and we exported 95,000 tonnes. Now those numbers don't include any grated or powdered cheddar and don't include curd, which might be matured into cheddar. However, in theory, we were net importers to the tune of 26,000 tonnes of cheddar last year. Nearly all our cheddar imports came from the EU, and more than 80% of the cheddar we exported went to the EU. In terms of Brexit, there's some pretty chunky tariffs on the cards if we end up in a no-deal situation. Imports would attract a tariff of £1,390 per tonne, and exports a tariff of €1,671 per tonne for cheddar. That means the majority of imports and 80% of our cheddar exports will be at risk of being uncompetitive. So could we produce that ourselves? And do we want to? To displace all those imports would need more than 1 billion litres of milk. However, we could, in theory, divert the cheddar normally exported to the EU and use it to displace some of those imports. Now that would still leave a gap of 45,000 tonnes of cheddar, which would require over 400 million litres of milk and a significant amount of spare processing capacity. And all of that is before we even think about storage and maturation times. But the other factor to consider is value. If we look just at our trade with the EU last year, cheddar imports averaged £2,400 per tonne, while exports averaged more than £3,200 per tonne. Now we don't know the pack sizes or the maturation of these products, but it does highlight the disparity in values. So simply using cheddar destined for the EU export market to displace imports could lose us £820 per tonne. That's £63 million in a year. That's equivalent to 2 pence a litre on all the milk that went into cheddar in the UK last year. Now it shows the potential financial implications of a no-deal Brexit, and all of that is based on just one dairy product. Of course, in reality, things are a lot more complicated than simply moving cheddar between customers. Relationships, brand loyalty, negotiations between companies, specifications, maturation times, storage, the availability of milk, and the ability to handle byproducts They all come into consideration. And even covering all of those doesn't give us the full picture, because milk can be diverted from one product into another. And that takes us back to my original slide, looking at the self-sufficiency levels for butterfat and protein. Now, whether we thrive in a post-Brexit world really comes down to those key components and whether we have the processing capability to convert those into foods that consumers want to eat. You can find information and analysis of all the latest dairy market events on our website, and you can keep up to date with the latest market developments by either visiting our website or with our weekly newsletter. If you don't already receive this newsletter, please sign up through the Keep in Touch section of the AHDB website. Thank you.